Hello everyone, welcome back for episode 2 of RSI in the classroom. So we're doing this series to help all of you be informed about RSI, regular and substantive interaction, but also to help you come up with ideas of how you can implement these practices into your own courses. So last week we talked about office hours and whether or not they count. So if you missed that episode, go ahead and click below and take a quick look at that one. But this week we want to talk about discussions and facilitating group discussions about the content or course competencies with your students. Now I know a lot of us have discussions in our courses, online courses, but whether or not we actually facilitate them or facilitate them well enough, that's unknown. So hopefully by watching this video, will kind of give you a good idea. Now, we all have bad practices, myself included. For instance, my discussions has never been a way for me to interact and engage with my students. I always use discussions as a way for my students to interact and engage with each other. And I just went in and graded it. Post once, respond to your classmates twice. If they did that, I'm feeling like they're engaging, give them full credit, right? So there's a video that I put in the newsletter of how not to create a online discussion with your students. So watch that, it's pretty funny. But I want to show you how I've changed my discussions now. And I'm doing a better job of facilitating these discussions so that students feel as if I am engaging with them as well as them engaging with each other. So let's take a quick look. I use 3 tools. I don't use Canvas discussions as often, but I do use them. I'm not going to talk about them because I think you all are aware of how they work. I'm going to talk about 3 different tools. One being Flipgrid, which is video discussion. Another is Packback, where students ask questions instead of answering the question that you may have asked. And a third is Perusal, where I am turning in annotation of articles into a discussion board. So let's take a quick look at that. So all of those tools easily integrate into Canvas. If you want help with that, you can check with the CTLE and they'll show you how it works. But Flipgrid, as you can see here in my orientation for my class that started last week, I have students that introduce themselves. So I click that and I've embedded the Flipgrid app into Canvas, so it's easy for students to get there. I give them the instructions, even a video of how to do it, and then they click this link and it'll open right up into Flipgrid. And so here you can see that my students have all responded to the prompt, and I am able to go in and reply to them. So if I open up one of these, I'm going to go ahead and click on this one. So my student here has introduced herself. I paused it so I could hide her name, but it's captioned by itself, so I don't have to worry about the captions. Flipgrid does that, or it's actually called Flip now, does that for you. And then over on the side here are the comment areas. So you can see one student has already replied to Jordan, but I can also reply as well. So for all of my students, I gave them individual welcome messages, welcoming them to the class and noting what they said about themselves. If they said, I wanted to be a dancer, I would say, dancing is cool, things like that. And then students can then see the response that I have for them. So this particular student's video was viewed 64 times, and she was one of the first ones to reply, so that's why she has more responses. But you can see that there's a lot of engagement going on here. So this was also a fun way. It's easy. I just hit record. I can respond and reply to my students, and this didn't take long at all. It was fun, and I enjoyed it. So just this quick little introduction discussion, we can see that there were 534 views, 34 different comments left, and 5.8 hours of discussion. That's a lot of discussion for just an introductory discussion. So one other discussion tool that I've added into Canvas is called Packback. And every 2 weeks, my students participate in a Packback discussion. Now, Packback is a little different from what you might be used to, and I really like it, especially as far as RSI goes, because it allows for me to coach students in their questioning and in their participation without all the other students seeing it. So if you're in a regular discussion board and you want to reply to a student because they're doing something wrong, everybody will see that. And if you try to do it in another way, students might not see the response. So here I give the students instructions, another video on how to participate, and then they click over into Packback. Now it looks like this once they get over there. And I can set it up to be weekly or every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, I decide. So here is the first Packback discussion, and it lasts every 2 weeks. So students are asked to present a question the first week and then respond to 2 the second week. This uses AI to help facilitate the discussion for you. So it auto grades, saving you a little bit of time, but what it really does is it frees up time for you to engage more with the students as opposed to trying to grade and engage. It takes that grading part away. So it auto grades, but it gives students feedback as they are participating. So I set it up that they have to score at least 50 points on their responses, and the system will check that for me. And then I go in and facilitate by responding to students. And I can respond in different ways. So let me give you a good idea. First off, I can respond by just asking a simple poll question that would have students reply. I just offered this up yesterday, so I don't have any responses yet. But I'm just curious what type of journalism career that the students are interested in. Many of them told me that already in their introductions, but now let's have a poll response. And students aren't just choosing an answer, they're replying with written text as to why they chose that answer. But then as I scroll down, you will see that students have responded to the initial post, which is ask questions about the content we are working on this week. And it was the first week, so they could generally ask questions on anything about journalism. Now I can spark that, so students get rated up higher if they get sparked. That's one way I can engage with them. But I can also reply to them, so I can add my own response, which every student will see. But what I like is the options here. So my options are to give feedback, I can pin the post, I can feature the post. Again, students get bonus points if they get featured. But by giving feedback, I can read the student's response, and then I can either praise or coach. So by praising, it gives me these options. I can feature it, pin it, but I can also give custom feedback. So why is this post important to your class to care about? And I can type in my response. What did the student do well in their post? I can put that as well. Okay, so at least one of these has to be turned in or filled out, and then I can hit give feedback. But if I want to coach the student, only the student will see this. So the feedback will only be visible to the student who posted the question. I can moderate the post, like maybe there was something in it that needed to be fixed. I can just quickly moderate it, or I can just give feedback. So how could the student edit this post to make it more, to make it more effective, and what should they keep in mind for future posts? Again, at least one of these has to be filled out, and then I can click give feedback. So here you can see that this student has been given praise by the instructor. I have also featured his post, and I sparked it. So this post has been rated pretty high. As you can see, 90 curiosity points were earned, and the minimum is 50. So this student did a really nice job with the post. So I'm able to interact with him in lots of different ways. And then there's also this leaderboard. And so by getting all of these responses, sparks, responding, asking questions, your curiosity points earned, puts you on the leaderboard. So you can see here, my number one student has 275 curiosity points. She's beating me right now. And she's got 1 question asked and 2 responded. And I only have 1 asked and 2 responded, but she's got more curiosity points. So that's how they get rated, and students really like this. They like being on top of the leaderboard. So the third tool I wanted to show you, and this is in a different class. So that's the other thing too. I use a lot of different technologies, but I don't use them all in the same class. So those first 2 were in my journalism class, and they consistently do those things, because remember, RSI is also about regular. So they can anticipate having a video Flipgrid question every 2 to 3 weeks. And then, of course, Packback is every 2 weeks. And they participate throughout the 2 weeks. So the first week of the 2 week period, they ask a question. And then the second week of the 2 week period, they respond to each other. And then I go in there and I feature and, post, pin, or all that good stuff so that they know that I am reading what they're writing. All right, in this third example, perusal, I use this in my English 101 class, and I like for students to read things that I want for them to be reading. So I set this up where students are going to read a couple of articles. They're going to annotate the article, but they're also going to have a discussion about the article. So they click this link to get into perusal. So to get them familiar with perusal, in the very beginning, the orientation, it's not what I clicked on initially, but I do have an orientation for students to do, and they introduce themselves. And in this particular example, they are introducing themselves by highlighting a student, and then what pops up is the opportunity for them to then introduce themselves. So in this particular instance, I have a student already. The class hasn't even started. It starts next week. And this student is in already, and she is introducing herself, right? So she's highlighted the first student. Now, in addition to introducing themselves, I want for them to read this article about studying and, how much study time they should be investing. And so here you can see that the same student has highlighted a part of this article and has left a comment about what they agree with what is happening here, etc. And as I scroll down, I can see that that was all she did. And that's fine. I just want her to get familiar with this tool, but also I want to learn who she is. Now, how would I engage with that student? So if I go back to this particular comment, right? And so I can respond to this person. And by doing that, and this is open, so all the students will be able to see my responses. If I want to respond to that individual student, I can hit the @ symbol like you would do in Twitter or X, whatever the hell it is now. Ooh, heck it is now. And now I will see a list of all of my students. So down below, I can click this student's name and then add her to my response. She then gets an email that shows I responded to her and I am continuing the discussion. I can add all kinds of emojis and GIFs and whatever I need. I can add images and links and video, whatever I need to be able to respond. I can even dictate by voice and respond to that student or to that comment. So it's a different way for students to engage with each other and the instructor, but it's adding in another element of annotation, which you might feel is important. Now, this and all the other tools that I use all sync back to the gradebook. So if I'm going to grade, it is added to the gradebook without little effort on my part other than grading. Also, Perusal has AI as well, and it will evaluate student responses and grade them automatically as well. I check it because Perusal grades a lot harder than I do, but it gives me a starting point and it makes it faster for me. So it's not that I want for these tools to do my work for me, but it frees me up to do more of the engaging part of it. All right, so that's it for the second episode showing you how to facilitate a group discussion regarding the content of a course or a competency. Remember, it has to be regular, so it's conducted throughout the course on a predictable schedule. Check. It's proportionate to the course length, so if I have a 14-week course or a 16-week course, I'm doing mine every 2 weeks. You can do it every 3 weeks, but just being consistent throughout the whole course and not all in the beginning or all at the end. It's initiated by a qualified instructor, that would be me, and it's also initiated by the instructor who monitors student engagement. So I'm looking for students who may not be participating as well as others and trying to give them feedback. So like you saw in Packback, I'm coaching the student who may not have scored 50 curiosity points, or I'm encouraging the student who's always first and doing a great job. So I'm monitoring, and that's how I'm engaging as well. So hope that helps. If you have any questions, let me know.